we're changing all the scope of territory
Right.
for cats, and so it isn't like it was. And I personally feel we have an obligation. We domesticated these animals. We have an obligation to take care of them.
Correct.
And to do what we're doing and to non-value them is not right.
Right.
It just
I
isn't.
believe the Humane Society of the United States has a new program that they've just started talking about called Rebranding the Cat. And it's a whole program that is focusing on increasing the value of cats.
Right.
Nationwide, not just in Oshkosh, Wisconsin or
Right.
Wisconsin, but cats as a whole because of the way that people perceive them.
Well, and one of the dilemmas we're in, Cheryl, and this is difficult for us because we're an open admission shelter. We take everything in, and honestly, right now in the building, I just checked this morning, we have 201 cats in our building right now.
And in the last 4.5 months, we have taken in 951 animals total.
Right. So, I mean, the numbers are there. I mean, it's huge, but and we're trying to encourage people to value cats and to care about them as much as as we should as a society. However, we're also we're reducing fees for cats. We have a Home at Last program that basically anything that's 3 and older we waive the fee for because that's subsidized by a special program. And so you're caught in this catch-22, like, please come in and adopt our cats. We'll waive the fee, you can have the cats, and yet we're asking people to value them.
Correct.
We wouldn't do that with our dogs.
Right. And it comes down to the sheer numbers because we can't continue taking more cats in if we don't have space for them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a dilemma that we face all year round, but more so in the summer. And of course, summer is the breeding season.
Right.
And I have never, I think a couple times I've been in the company of a female cat, and I truly do not understand how someone can live with an unspayed or an unneutered cat.
But that's why they open the door and let them outside.
Right, because they're very vocal and
that truly is the problem.
And how many litters can a cat have in a season, Joan?
Well, we've seen situations, Cheryl, you know that as well as I do. They come in, they're nursing a litter, and they're pregnant. So, the truth of the matter is that when they're in season, and it happens frequently, it's every 6 weeks that they can go into a heat cycle. So it's pretty common.
And they can have as many as how many kittens?
Well, they can have up to 8 kittens.
Wow.
Generally, the rule is 5. But it's just it's incredibly sad the sheer volume of cats.
Right. And when you think of the number of cats that we have here at the shelter, if people would take a minute and look in their local newspaper and look at all the ads for cats in the newspaper, that's also our competition.
Sure.
And I had someone say to me, well, I found homes for all my kittens, but at the same token, those kittens took away homes from other cats. And so spaying and neuter really, people really need to be able to do that. And I think we need to talk about why don't people spay and neuter? Is it that they don't care, or it's too expensive, or all of the above?
I think there's a variety of reasons. I think first and foremost, people don't understand the impact of the numbers. They don't understand. If their cat has 5 kittens and they find home for all those 5 kittens, that's their world, and that's what they look at, and they say, I placed all those kittens. There wasn't an issue. There wasn't a problem.
Right.
You said it yourself. Those 5 kittens obviously took something away from other cats. And so people don't understand the impact. And then I think there's also a cost factor. Obviously, having an animal spayed or neutered, there's a cost involved. People need to think about how important that is for the rest of the cat's life and what a small investment that is for the next 10 or 15 years.
Right.
But sometimes it's not thought about. The big picture is not thought about.
Right. And I think it's important, too. I would hope that people are starting to learn that besides pet overpopulation, the advantages of having a pet spayed or neutered, whether it's a cat or a dog. But 90% of a spraying issue can be corrected or eliminated by having the cat spayed or neutered.
Right.
The other thing is it removes certain kinds, the chances of them getting certain types of cancer, and it just makes them a more pleasurable animal to be around by having them spayed and neutered. So it isn't just the benefit of preventing unwanted births. It also can be a health factor for your pet.
Sure. Sure. And the truth of the matter is that there are places that people can call, and we're going to have some things on the screen that there are numbers where, you know, you can, if you are in a situation and you want to get your cat spayed or neutered and money is an issue, there's some, not here in Oshkosh, but there are some other areas, particularly down in Madison, that you can call and make appointments, and at a reduced cost you can get your cat spayed or neutered.
That's great.
So we're gonna talk about that, and
we'll have that number up on the screen for people to,
sure.
They can jot that down.
And let's talk a little bit, Cheryl, about working in this field, animal welfare, and the stress. You know, we joke about it throughout the whole year, but
right.
but this really truly is a very, very difficult job emotionally. It can be very draining physically, as far as just because you're making life and death decisions. You are responsible for a living, breathing thing that you really care about, that you truly love.
Right.
I mean, we're all here because we love animals.
Right.
And so we're invested in this job. We're invested in the kind of work that we do, and we're very passionate about it. But that dark side, or that downside, because you can't save them all, really does have an impact on you. What a lot of people don't realize is that working in animal welfare in this type of job, in a full admission shelter, this work is considered one of the top 5 most stressful jobs in the nation. I mean, we're right up there with air traffic controllers, and I don't mean to compare as far as, like, you know, those types of things, but we're talking about the stress level that's involved, because again, this is caregiving.
Right. Well, and I think it's a very volatile situation, because you're dealing not only with the animals, but you're dealing with people, and there's a lot of emotions involved. And as Jessica stated earlier, when and you asked that question of how do you feel when you're taking in your 8th cat of the day and doing a physical exam on that animal, or somebody is bringing in the 15th cat of the day because they're moving and they can't take the animal with them. You hear that over and over again, and it's so frustrating and heart-wrenching, because there were 14 before that cat, and you know that tomorrow there's probably going to be 8 to 12 more.
Right.
And how are you going to help all of them? And at the same time, how are you going to help the people? And how do you get people to understand that? And sometimes even coping with the fact of, when people bring an animal to the shelter, they're doing what we ask them to do rather than turning them out onto the street. But in the same token, the frustration and the anger that we feel of, you said it yourself, we have over 200 cats in the building, and what do people want us to do with them? Where do we go?
Where do we go?
Where do we go with them?
And I think just to wrap up, Cheryl, I think it's important to let our viewers know that, you know, there are things that you can do. Spay and neuter is an absolute, and support your local shelter. No question about it. 201 cats, that's a lot of cats to care for, plus the 36 dogs.
Well, and they all get preliminary medical exams. We're treating them for ear mites and fleas, and checking them for feline leukemia. So we're making an investment in these animals, and for their future. Please,
folks, keep this in mind. This show is important because it is about the cats and the sheer number of cats, and you guys can make a difference by spaying and neutering and by supporting your shelter. So we want to thank you for listening to us today, and a pretty serious subject. And with that, let's just say
happy tales to you.